Hey people, welcome back. Today we're looking at Fallen King Salhadaar and how not to lose DPS as an Elemental Shaman. This fight is an interesting one for Elemental Shaman because the ads, while they do live quite long, are still not the greatest targets for the Elemental Shaman to be hitting. Unfortunately, you will have to hit them as your raid leader might kick you out of the raid if you do not. There's no really special talents to take on this fight. If you want to try and help with the CCing of the shadows, you can pick up the knockback and you can pick up the totem stun, but generally speaking they are kind of either too slow or you've got to actually move over to the target to get the CC out. It is much easier to just focus mark one of them, wait for it to become enabled and then hit your wind shear and just get back to DPSing. If it is your first time this fight, I recommend Northern Sky Raid Tools to get the green CC marker above the ad that can be hit by CC at this moment in time. So something interesting about the Fallen King Salhadaar fight is that there is actually a damage amp phase. The problem is it comes at such a time that you'll never really have your cooldowns up for it. I have been thinking about experimenting with a 3-minute Ascendance build that holds Ascendance for the second damage amp, but I'm still not sure if this is actually worth doing. If the fight is lasting that long for you anyway, you might even be able to get 3 Ascendances out if you're using the 2-minute Ascendance talent, but definitely something worth playing with, and I might have to give it a go next time I come to this fight. So good damage as an Elemental Shaman on this fight can come down to your tank's positioning. If they are keeping the boss generally close enough to the orbs where Chain Lightning becomes able to hit all of the orbs at once, it's definitely worth using Chain Lightning and getting that extra bounce and that extra Maelstrom out, but it sort of is completely reliant on where your tanks are taking the boss, so it's not something that you can comfortably achieve by yourself. Next we have the damage amp phase. So during the damage amp phase, nobody gets to stand still because these lasers start firing around the boss, as you can see in the video at the moment. Usually you're going to want your evokers to have their time spiral for this. Ours doesn't use it during this part of the fight, which is irritating because it means I won't have Spirit Walker's Grace because it only lasts for a little bit of it. You want to try and coordinate your evokers to definitely have time spiral during this, because as a shaman, getting Spirit Walker's Grace is obviously a massive DPS increase. As the fight goes on, we're definitely going to get more and more of these orbs coming in, and that's when you really want your Stormkeeper up for those. I wouldn't hold your Stormkeeper for it if you're going to lose a cast, but obviously if it does ever sync up, like it does sort of here for me, it's a really good time to be using Stormkeeper, hitting all the orbs at the same time, and the boss and the other orb that you need to hit. You can see that my Ascendance isn't up here, and it's because I was trying out the 3-minute Ascendance here, but I don't hold it for the second damage amp phase because I wasn't sure how much of it we were going to get. If your kill is around this sort of speed, but a bit slower and you're going to get that damage amp, it is probably worth holding and trying to use it during a damage amp. It might do more damage, I don't know for certain, it's something that I still need to test as I said earlier, because getting Ascendant and Stormkeeper up when the orbs spawn is also a massive burst of damage. Obviously it's a lot more important that you focus on the orbs during your first couple of kills of this boss, because if the orbs hit the boss it's just a wipe, so if your guild is only just starting progress on this boss, just make sure you're swapping to those orbs. It's the most important thing, and one of the only reasons you're going to wipe on this fight is the orbs not dying at the right time. So defensive on this fight, there is a couple of good times. Obviously during the laser phase is a good time to use your defensive, but it should also sort of be the time where your healers are using their big cooldowns, so it might be a bit overkill to use them there. The other time to use a defensive on this fight is either when you get the puddles and you need to move away from the group outside of healing range, so that will keep you alive a bit longer, or when you get the star. The star does do a big hit when it first hits you, so often using a defensive is going to alleviate some of that worry that you might die from the burst damage. But that is basically the fight, so let's go and have a look at timeline reminders and see if we can learn anything extra about Elemental Shaman on this fight. Okay, so I've set up a couple of different ideas here first. Let's go for the one that you'll probably be doing on your first kill. So this is a 5-minute 30 fight, and this will be using a 2-minute Ascendance timer. So we use Ascendance and we use Light's Potential on pull, and we use Stormkeeper before the pull as normal. Stormkeeper on cooldown every time, and saving our Spirit Walker's Grace for the beam phase so that we can get the most damage out. Then when our next Stormkeeper comes up, we can use our Ascendance once again, try and coincide it with the orb spawning so you get that nice spread damage onto the orbs. Another one, which again will kind of coincide with when the orbs are spawning, so you can just put it up and hold for a few seconds for the orbs to spawn. And then once again we Spirit Walker's Grace and we Stormkeeper when we get into the beam phase again. Stormkeeper on cooldown one more time, and now we're going to wait and hold everything until 5 minutes has passed, and that's when we use absolutely everything, including our potion, and blast our last Ascendant, hopefully killing him before we get the last beam and the timer. If you think you're going to get into last beam phase, maybe it's worth to hold up until here, assuming you're going to get the majority of the beam phase, in which case I don't believe your Ascendants will be up in time. Let's just do the math quickly. So 313 plus 45. Going to put you at 358 for your next Stormkeeper. So you're looking around there. Yeah, that's risky because that means you're not even going to have the Ascendant for the full thing. So you'd have to hold everything if you were going to do that. So I don't know if that would be worth it. Plus, if you overrun this, you're getting into Berserk anyway. So you're probably going to wipe if you don't have the damage. So maybe just hold it and use it all at the start. Because you're not going to get an extra one in anyway. So that is another option for the 5-minute 30 fight. Okay, now let's have a look at the normal 4-minute fights. This is the one I did in the video, where I'm doing Ascendant and I'm doing Life Potential on Pull, Stormkeeper before as obvious before, Stormkeeper on cooldown, Stormkeeper cooldown, Spirit Walker's Grace for the beam, Stormwaker on cooldown, and now we're going to use it around the 3-minute mark. Everything should come off around the same sort of time. So I believe I'm holding Stormkeeper a bit here, maybe. Let's have a look. 133. Yeah, I'm holding it for a couple of seconds. But that's fine, just to make sure it lines up nicely with my Ascendant and when the orbs are up. So that's, again, a nice little burst of AoE. Once again, we go into the beam with Spirit Walker's Grace, and that's the end of the fight. So this is assuming that we're just going to get into the beam phase, so there's not going to be enough time to get 4 Ascendants out. So I'm just going to use it when there's AoE up and as much damage as possible. And that is the normal 4-minute. Let's go have a look at the alt 4-minute that I'm possibly thinking about using in the future. So this is an ultimate 4-minute fight sort of take. The boss is taking more around 4 minutes, a little bit longer than 4 minutes these days, so this is probably not a terrible idea. So once again, it's a 3-minute Ascendance, because I don't think the fight's going to last long enough to get 3 Ascendances out. If it is like a 4-minute 30 fight, you might be able to do it with 2-minute Ascendants, as long as you are not waiting for Stormkeeper for the second one to make sure that you have Stormkeeper for the third one. I don't know if that's going to be better damage, but it might just allow you to get that third Ascendance in. But I think this could be a good compromise for that. So we do those at the start, Stormkeeper, Stormkeeper, Spirit Walker, Stormkeeper, Stormkeeper. And now we make sure we've got everything ready here, so Stormkeeper will be up for this one. And that, we make sure we've got Spirit Walker's Grace so that we can move while we're doing the Ascendant. And then the boss should die around like here, we're assuming, at that point. Or somewhere around there, so we should get the majority of the Ascendants out. Again, I don't know if this is going to be better damage than just using it when the orbs spawn. I think that still might be better. Again, experimentation with these ideas is probably not a bad thing, especially if you're looking to get good passes as Elemental Shaman. The main thing getting good passes in this fight is going to be making sure you're cleaving Chain Lightning on those adds as much as possible, because that's going to give you extra Maelstrom and thereby a lot of extra damage. But yeah, this is what I am thinking. These two probably good if you're re-clearing. This one probably fine if you're doing a long fight. Talents are pretty normal for Salhadaar. I'm pretty sure I just use my normal build. Let's just have a look at the one I've got for him. There are a couple of... Oh, I was in my Mythic Plus build, so that's why there's a lot of changes. But yeah, this is a pretty standard single target build and pretty standard stuff. Obviously, you don't need Tremor Totem. You could change it for the Mana Regen if you want to take Mana Regen here. Or you could change it for, I don't know, like Healing Stream Totem, things that you might want. You could change this for Spirit Wolf if you want to survive a bit longer while you're running away. But I think that this is pretty standard build for Elemental Shaman on most single target fights. Probably even on most non-single target fights in the raids, because none of them are particularly AoE enough to warrant going your AoE build. Okay, so that's what I've got for next King Salhadaar, guys, and I will see you next time when we're hopefully talking about the dragons. I might do a quick video on Rotmire Elemental Shaman, but if I don't, I'll see you in the next one where we'll be talking about the dragons.